Hey everybody, welcome back to another reasonable price prediction, the series where we try to figure out where your favorite altcoins could be headed. Now today we're looking at Cardano, and in this video I feel like I want to give a bit of a hot take. What I think is happening with Cardano is not what the general population thinks is happening with Cardano. And some people will see that as bearish and some people will see it as bullish. I see it as bullish, but I think we've been misled a little bit by the hype that crypto YouTubers are pumping out and people on Twitter are pumping out. This is new alt season, and there are good arguments to make for that because we've seen meme coins, do 100x's in the last few months, which usually only happens in bullish times. And we've seen popular altcoins like Solana, Avalanche, they've done really well. AI coins, they've really taken off. And of course, Bitcoin itself has done like a 4x in the last year. So there's definitely argument to be made that we are in a bull run. And I'm not disagreeing with you there. But looking at this chart, we can see this is what most people think is what's going on. So if we zoom in, we can see last cycle, I'm obviously matching these circles to the current cycle, or what we have recently been through. And most people are saying these are equivalent. So we have this low, we bounce off this support, at 3 cents. This is the first cycle. We rally up, we put in a second top, a double top. We then pull back down close to this support. And in the case of this cycle, we actually came back down to this support. We have a quick little rally up, and then we have another pull down, the final pull down to that support, and then it's home free. We're in our bull run. Money is being made. And as you can see, basically the same thing has happened here. And this is a fair assumption to make. And to be honest with you, I was on board with this for a while until we've had the most recent price action play out. Especially these last kind of 2 months, I've been kind of reassessing, and I really don't think that this is the case because most people are arguing that in terms of the 4-year cycle, in terms of price movement, in terms of relation to when it takes place during the halving, this move or this time period, the moves that happen within this time period are equivalent to the moves that happen in this time period. And again, they could be right here. And this theory is called the left translated cycle. I'm sure you've heard it thrown around the place. It basically means that what we're experiencing this bull run is early compared to what we experienced last cycle. What we're experiencing this cycle is happening earlier, sooner than what we experienced last cycle. So you can see here we bounced off this low for the final time much earlier. And then we started this rally up much earlier. That's assuming that these are the same moves. But I don't think they are. I actually think that this move that we've just had here, this strong green move, this first top followed by this double top here, is actually equivalent to this here. And let me just quickly show you what I mean by moving these dots. So here we are. I've moved these now to what I think we are currently, or what I think is happening. And if we kind of take a look at this, a closer look, we can see that they do play out pretty similarly. We have our bounce off this support or whatever, we move up. And we have our first high, our local high. We spent about 2 weeks up there the first time. Here we spent a much longer time up. We spent about 4 weeks. Then we had a pull down over the space of a month. We had a pull down over the space of a month, followed by about a month of green. 1, 2, 3, 4, month of green. We stay up there for a little shorter. We stay up here for much longer this time. So again, total time at the tops is about the same. We just have it longer at the start, shorter at the end, shorter at the start, longer at the end. And then we start a capitulation down. Why do I favor this cycle, this part of the cycle here, being equivalent to what we're currently going through now? There's a few reasons, one of which being the bull market support band. If we take a look at it, if we see here before, we go back to assuming that this is equivalent to this part of the move, like we saw before I moved these circles, we can see that once we come back to this low, which is where this was originally, once we hit this low, when we move up, it's bull run. It's just green, basically. And sure, we have a pullback or two, but notice that we don't really break below the bull market support band until we top out. And when we do, we hug the top of the bottom of the bull market support band. We barely go below it, and then we make a strong move back up and continue our rally. And this only happens twice, and the second time it happens just before we break down, basically. And then once we do finally break down, the bull market support band inverts, which means it flips. It trends down. And we can see this didn't happen in the last bull run. The bull market support band did not trend down. It did not flip. It did flip here technically, but it didn't trend down. However, if we take a look at over here, what I'm suggesting we're currently going through, we can see that the bull market support band does flip. And it's a few weeks after we put in this second high. And if we take a look, this second high, this high, 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks after, a month afterwards. Zoom in over here, 1, 2, 3. So pretty similar time frames for a pretty similar move. Another reason I think this is because it also lines up much better in terms of months. Now I know it's kind of stupid to assume that every month is, going to play out similarly, but it is a thing over crypto where over the summer, it's called the summer lull, we don't get much price action in crypto. And that is usually just because people are out enjoying themselves. There are better things to be doing than sitting at their monitor all day, or at least people think that. Me, of course, no. I'd much rather just sit in front of my computer all day. But, people go outside, they go on holiday, they spend time with their family, they do all these things. There's a lot more things pulling them away from crypto. And that basically just results in nothing happening. If there's nobody there to buy the crypto, then it's not going to really trend up in any significant way. I'm not saying we can't have green weeks, but I just think, over the space of, again, if we zoom in to what happened last time, when we put in this high, it was June. So again, we're actually a month behind, basically. In fact, 3, because it was March when we put in this high. So if we're assuming that, when did we have the kind of flip here? When did we get some good price action? December time, realistically. 6 months later. So we could assume that we're going to trend down for another 6 months, or we're going to trend down until December. If we're trending down until December, of course, that's a much longer time frame for us to be moving down for. And actually, let's get the exact amount of weeks, just because why not? And to be honest with you, there's actually an argument to be made that we don't actually trend up until March, which is 9 months instead of 6 months. That's excluding the COVID crash. However, we'll be generous here. We'll go best case scenario. We'll go 6 months. How many weeks is that until we start trending up? 27 weeks, half a year. That would put us mid-September when we start to see a rally. And I think this makes more sense. And this also kind of ties into when the Fed most likely will start cutting rates, quantitative easing. We're currently in quantitative tightening, which means there's just less money. People have less money. So less money is being put into crypto. Less money is going into riskier assets. But the Fed will most likely be cutting this year, probably towards the end of this year. So Q3, Q4. And we often see crypto do well enough when rates are easing. I mean, when rates aren't being cut, when rates are at their lowest and they're staying low, that's when crypto really flourishes. This is what happened with COVID. There were no rate hikes. They just stayed basically at zero for more or less a year, and crypto had the best bull run ever because of that. It literally just couldn't stop going up. I don't think we'll have a bull run like that for a very long time, and I think if we do, it's probably a bad thing because something terrible has gone wrong. That doesn't mean huge amounts of money can't be made in crypto. So again, that's my reasoning. Just to recap, we're currently in quantitative tightening, so there's less money being floated around, which often spells bad price action. We had a smaller bull run over here, which I think looks more similar to this move anyway. I think this is what we're currently going through. It's also coming up to summer. Summer, nothing really happens in crypto usually. And we had an inversion of the bull market support band. So that is my case for where I think Cardano is. Of course, this is just my opinion. You don't have to agree with me. In fact, I'd love to hear what you guys think of this because, to be honest with you, I don't think it's a kind of theory that's been spoken about much. I haven't seen it anywhere else. I think people are just very fixated on hype and the green candles, and they're not actually really being objective with their view. So let me know. Maybe I'm being just a complete bear, but ultimately I think it's more bullish. I mean, if this is our bull run, if you want to assume that this is the start and this is the start here, we've done pretty poorly. Like the percentage moves that we made here was 500%. When we reach this top, which we're assuming this guy is. And here we've just gone about half of that. However, if we go over here, I kind of move from this low to this high, it matches up pretty well. 283 over here, that's being generous. 250 here. So it seems to correlate much more, in my opinion. And also the time frame plays out much better. But again, I've said everything that I want to on that front. A quick look at the Bitcoin pair. And I will prefix this by saying I think we're going to about 500 sats. I would be comfortable saying that, especially if we're expecting the negative price action that we're seeing on the US dollar chart, if what I think is correct, or if we just continue to get bad price action on the US dollar pair regardless. I think we are due to go down. Now, If we take a look at what happened last time, we're currently trading at about 700 sats. If we take a look at what happened last cycle, when we reached 700 sats, we had a bounce and then we broke down below. But this happened after the halving. And again, I don't think we're in the left translated cycle. I don't think we're getting things early. I think we're getting things quite late. And if we're assuming that, then to compare it on the Bitcoin pair as well, we're actually going to be around here somewhere. Again, this kind of May time frame in 2019. And what did we see happen in May? It just went down pretty drastically from a local top. So again, if we're assuming that this is where we are on the US dollar pair, actually, you know what, I'll clone it. We'll see how similar it is. We could expect something like this. Now, in terms of how far it goes down, that's another story. But I think 500 Satoshis is on the table. And the reason I say that is because every cycle, Cardano has returned to at least 500 Satoshis. When it first started, it went as low as 250, but the kind of median, the average, was the high 400s, close to 500. This last cycle that we kind of moved down to after this strong move was about 500 Satoshis average. And in fact, we went pretty low again. We came down to the 400 Satoshi mark. Now, I would not be holding out to buy at 400 Satoshis. I think if we do get there, it'll be a wick. But if we have a strong move down like this again, we could very well go down to that level. But again, I think the 500 is probably the safer bet if you're assuming what I'm saying is true, which of course I have no way of knowing for sure. Take that with a pinch of salt. But we can see if we compare it to kind of what happened last time in terms of moves, it's just not the same. Like, we're getting these moves back up, strong moves here around the halving time, and these strong moves down, this huge volatility, and it's just not the same in terms of what we're going through now. Also, the time frames don't add up. It's a bit of a mess. It's trying to stitch together a theory, trying to force a narrative, force the data that you're given into a narrative. However, if we kind of assume that this move here is similar to this one up here, we suddenly become a lot more reasonable, realistic. And again, these are kind of very rough and ready sketches. But they do look pretty similar. Like, we have an 86% move here, a 91% move here from the low to the high. Last cycle, if again, assuming this is true, we saw an 80% drop here. What we've currently seen so far from the high to the low is a 60% drop. I don't think another 20% is really off the cards, especially if we've just entered into this downward trend on the US dollar pair. Bitcoin always wins when it comes to downward moves. It's just the most resilient, and it's proven that over and over again. I'm not going to get into a debate with you over that. That's what I think. And there are always altcoins that will outperform, whether in a downward or an upward trend. But for the vast majority, and I think definitely in Cardano's case, Bitcoin will outperform. And that's exactly what we saw last time. And I think that's exactly what we're going to see again. Either way, I think it is this 500 sat level that we're going to be returning to. So if I was kind of wanting to pick up Cardano, I would put a buy order on the Bitcoin pair at 500 sats. And again, we see that once we come down to this low, this 500 sat level, we don't really return to it. We make an effort at some point, we bounce off the 500 sat level, off a wick, but then it's bull run o'clock. I would be really disappointed if this is our bull run, because basically you're just better off holding Bitcoin for the bull run, which is not the bull run people hope for. People hope for the altcoins that go up 50x, 100x. But if this is what you've considered a bull run, where Cardano is even lower on its Bitcoin pair than where it was at the start of the bull run, I wouldn't be happy, personally. And I think it's much more bullish to hope that this bull run is coming, not that it's been, or that we're halfway through it. And the most realistic scenario of that is if we assume that what we're going through now is equivalent to what we went through in 2019. That we are much slower this cycle, that we've had a much more elongated bear run. And again, this bear run has been heralded as one of the longest crypto has gone through. Definitely modern crypto, it's by far the longest. So again, those are my thoughts. You can choose to agree with them or disagree with them. It's just what I think. I feel like I've spoke about all the points that I wanted to. So if you guys liked the video, please leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike. That's totally fine too. Consider subscribing, as it really helps out the channel. And comment down below if you think I'm right or wrong. Again, I love hearing from you guys, and I love hearing where you think crypto will go, because a lot of you have been in the crypto game a lot longer than me. And there's always stuff that I'll miss, so please comment it down below. Thanks very much, guys. Take care and peace.